Hello, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name, as always, is Jonal. They banned 4 DPS in Overwatch. I suppose that this is a thing now. It looks like the balancing team, or whoever is behind the hero bans, are trying out. There was a 2 support ban. Now there is 1 tank, 4 DPS, and 1 support ban. And I suppose that we'll do what we always do. We'll take a look at the tier list, playstyles, and in general how we can use this week's of hero bans to our advantage in the rank ladder. So of course, a like on the video, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. Of course, as always, helps out the channel. The support is very, very much appreciated. Discord, Twitter, Twitch, link down in the description in case you want to follow me on any of those. I'm trying to find out a way to set up a stream. It's a little bit dicey right now, but I'm trying my very best. Of course, Discord community and all that good stuff. And if you want to rank up, improve, get better at the game really fast, you can hire me as a private coach. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. Hit me up on a Discord server, which again, link down in the description. So, they banned, and I cannot believe this. So they banned D.Va. Okay, whatever, who cares, right? They banned McCree, Soldier, Sombra, Widow. So hitscan. Baptiste. Now, why the Sombra ban is there, I'm not 100% sure. I have personally not seen her that much on the rank ladder. I've seen a lot of Crees, a lot of Soldiers, a lot of Widows. Agree on those. I haven't seen that much Sombra, but I suppose it's either a dedicated pick or it's RNG randomness, and I'm not sure which one it is at this point. But whatever, and then they removed Baptiste. And what does this mean for the tier list? So this is a tier list that I made. It is, as you can see, in the S tier, Tracer, Hammond, Winston. In the A tier has Pharah, Reaper, Genji, Hanzo, Ashe. Majority of all support, so both Ana, Moira, Lucio, and Sen, and a Junkrat. B tier is majority of all tanks that is not the dive tank, so Hog, Orisa, Zarya, Sigma, Mei, Doomfist, Torbjorn, Break, Mercy. And then in the C tier I have Ryan Bastion. In the D tier I have a Symmetra. And that's what I came up with. This was one of the very one that I actually had to sit down and think about in a longer manner. I actually went and took a shower and came back with the tier list. Just because there is a lot of ways this can go, and I was very dragged between how I look upon it as a contenders coach and how I look upon it from the aspect as a team coach, like one that works with a competitive team, and the solo queue environment. And that's what's kind of what I was struggling with. But I still came up with this tier list. So let's break it down a little bit. S tier, Tracer, Winston, Hammond. I don't think a lot of people are that surprised about it. If you start thinking about it. The D.Va ban essentially just does that. The one hard counter tank to a Winston has been removed. You can say that Hog can do a lot, but Hog cannot catch up. He cannot zone her from high grounds. He cannot generally push him in the same way, and he cannot peel for his tanks. He has one hook, hit it or miss it. There's a bubble, and again, the Winston can essentially just leap over him, and the Hog will be late to the fight. And yes, if the Hog gets in the face of the Winston, he's good, but that doesn't happen as easy as when he faces a D.Va. There's no McCree flash. There's no Sombra hack. There's no soldiers sprinting away. There's no snipers that you need to shield your shitty teammates with a Ryan or Orisa because else they get picked. There's no one sniping the Winston on his engage. That's why Winston and Hammond are the dive tanks that I pick. No hack on the Hammond. No flash on the Hammond. It's insane. And it leaves a lot of DPSs very vulnerable to a dive. On top of the fact that there's not a Baptiste, there's no emo field to just like fuck you and just like emo field their team and durate out the dive to get sustained up by supports. That won't happen anymore, and therefore such an aggressive playstyle is of course really good. Tracer is there because again she's really good against majority of this, and there's not that many counters anymore to her with the removal of a soldier and the removal of a McCree. There's not really that much. And now she doesn't even have to burn that many resources on trying to hunt Widowmakers in the backline. There's no emo field. Tracer's just gonna slay. If you're really good at Tracer, you're gonna have a blast this week. In the A tier, I put a bunch of DPS, but I put mainly just 5. I put the Pharah, of course, because they removed majority of the hit scan. There's still an Ashe in the game, and still a Ana Assassin Yara, so I was thinking about putting her B tier, but I think a lot of people, if you're good on Pharah, you can work around it, and I don't know how many people will be playing Ashe. So I think that you can work around it, at least for now. I also put Reaper there to my frustration, just because there's not that, like, a lot of people counter him by playing stuff like McCree. And also D.Va can work pretty well against him and so on. You can have some emo field on him and so on. And with not that, then he can actually work really well in the solo queue environment. I put Genji logically because there's no emo field, there's no McCree to stun him, there's no soldier to run away from him and Visor, his blade, there's nobody to hack him, right? There's no D.Va to pressure him off high grounds, which is like one of the few people that can at least do something about trying to contest him on a high ground. So Genji is an A tier. I was thinking about putting him in S tier, but because there are still teams that will be playing bunker, and there's still some teams that will still be playing some Rhine comps, and you won't always get dive and so on. Your team might go into a Orisa play. I didn't put him on S tier just because there are scenarios where the Genji won't be as useful compared to other things. Hanzo and Ashe are obvious dumb picks to not put in an A tier. Ashe being the only hit scan that goes and is now the most viable hit scan in the game because there's not really anybody left to contest her, I suppose. And Hanzo because it's motherfucking Hanzo, boys. Like, it's like, 250 headshots, fucking sonar, rapid fire on your ass, right? He works pretty well against the dive team as well. I put a majority of the supports on the A tier. Ana, Moira, Lucio, Sen can work in and with most team composition and most of the heroes that are played right now. And then also put Junkrat actually on the A tier list, which was really just because the mobility and the fact that you can really you will have a lot of damage that you can use on abusing some of the team composition that we'll be trying to pushing right now. There's no flash, there's no pressure, and so on you, and there's no D.Va that you have to really care about off-anglings for and eating your nades and so on. So I think that you can do a lot of value on the Junkrat. On the B tier, I put most tanks. Hog, Orisa, Zarya, Sigma are there. And that's only because the value that you can get from a dive team is so much better, and you can make, like, Orisa herself is like an A tier pick or an S tier pick, but because there's no off time, because there's no D.Va to stop the dive, it's like hope the Hog gets picks, and the Hog is still really good because you can still flank into backlines and still pick off supports if they are playing very mobile teams. And you can still get some good hooks and whatnot, but outside of that, there's not much you can do against the dive teams. When shit actually hits the fan, and like it's like he hit the hook and he gets something, or he's useless until he gets his hook back online. He can do some primary fire stuff. If they're playing dive, it doesn't really matter. He works really well against other bunkers, other Rhine comps and so on. The same thing goes with the Zarya, and the same thing goes with the Sigma. Against Hammond, against Winston, against these dive composition with Pharahs and whatnot. And the two DPSs being two very good high ground controlling DPS, Ashe and Hanzo, which naturally forces people up to high ground, or at least lets people access high ground really freely. There's not much of the range of these tanks that can do much except bunker up and hope that your team does something. Unless, again, the enemy team is playing a main group that is similar, so a bunker or a death ball. So if you're meeting dive, that's why I think they can struggle a lot, because they removed a lot of the things that they were good at shutting down. And a lot of the fact when D.Va was in the meta, there was a lot of team composition that could be played that is no longer accessible and counterable because they removed the D.Va. So the D.Va removal is one of the bigger ones. I also put Mei, Doomfist, Torb there because you can play really good with these guys if you know how to do them. It might be a little bit difficult, a little bit weird, but they are very difficult to pick up solo, deal with flankers, and pop off. So if you're good with those heroes, I think that you can actually have a blast with them. I also put Brega Merstep because I think that they fit in certain scenarios. They can fit really, really well in certain team compositions with Varus and whatnot. These two can fit really well. The C tier is a Bastion and a Rhine, and that's just because they can work, but you play the Rhine against the bunker and you break his shield, you play the Rhine against the dive and he gets dived over and he's therefore useless. You play the Bastion and he will, in a lot of scenarios, get destroyed, but in some scenarios you can actually survive for a long time against him, and because there's no D.Va matrix, he's actually pretty good, so I moved him up. Normally he's on my D tier list, so I actually moved him up a notch from previous list just because he can actually do something now because there's no D.Va. So Bastion can actually be really, really strong for cheesing on stuff like Junker Town. Please don't do it in my games though, because I don't like when you guys do that. And on the D tier, I put Symmetra because he's fucking useless right now. I don't think I have to justify that pick. I think we all understand that there's not going to be a shield to charge on. He's going to be dived and destroyed immediately. You can maybe cheese teleport to point. Maybe. That's like the best that you can do. But I think that will very quickly collapse. And I don't think that she will get the value that she needs. Unless, again, you meet certain team compositions. And at that point, she's just a subpar pick compared to an Ashe or a Reaper or a Hanzo or a Pharah when it comes to that DPS slot. Or even a Doomfist or a Mei, right? Like, there's just so many other better picks right now than her. That is this week's hero bans. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I would like to hear your down in the comment section, because this was a weird one for me. I think that I came up with one that fits really, really well. That really does revolve a lot about this dive team composition, and abusing the fact that there's some gaping gaps in the defensive of the picking on the DPS side, and also the defensive side of the tanks, that they will be very quickly to ignore or just play around, where they can't really do much about you if you're playing a DPS or a specific tank. Good luck in your rank games. If you like, comment, all that stuff, it really, really means a lot. Subscribing as well, as most people that watch these videos are not subscribed. Subscribing really helps me grow the channel and so on, and keeps you up to date. Yeah, as always, guys, please take care of the positive. I love you guys very, very much. My name is Jonal, and you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.